Well, folks, it's that time. Welcome to the Naked Financial Truth. Woo! Yeah. Matt, we got three big topics today we're going to talk about.
There we go.
In the middle one, we're going to act like mafia dudes.
Forget about it.
See, Matt's got a better mafia
right.
than I do. First, let's talk about serious. Oh, by the way, who's the sponsor of the show?
Always our sponsor, Liquid Currency.
Liquid Currency, Coach Pete Special. Nice blend from Napa.
Ooh.
Yes, nice blend.
Ooh.
Yes, the Liquid Currency, folks. But let's talk, speaking of currency, let's talk about AI. And let's talk about the bubble in the AI world. And what is the bubble and what's going to happen? How can people benefit or how are people going to get hurt by trying to participate in AI these days?
Excellent question.
Yep.
And what we're seeing, markets go through changes. They go through booms and busts, as they always do, major trends. Right now, we're seeing a lot of hypervaluations, hyper meaning high, in artificial intelligence companies. Now, in conversations that I've had with quite a few investment banks, everyone's still trying to get their head around this AI, what is and what isn't real AI.
Right.
Some companies are having valuations north of billions with no revenue.
Yeah.
And some are having 5-6 million in revenues and have crazy valuations, some have none. It's all over the place. So I would caution people, including myself, to be very careful when it comes to artificial intelligence investing. I'm not an investment advisor nor a registered Series 7, so I don't give investment advice.
I am, but I don't give advice either on the show like this. I'm a 65 investment advisor and a fiduciary. But Matt, with this, we're not giving advice on here, but we're giving you an overview of what AI is looking like.
Yes, and what I've done, as I've researched AI, there are different types of AI. There's generative AI. Generative means they're able to take pictures and make AI actually start turning into avatars. I mean, the biggest hit right now in Instagram is an AI Instagrammer out of Sweden. Beautiful woman. She's got millions and millions of followers, and she's all fake.
Not a real person.
No.
Yeah.
That's a great example of generative AI. No, that's not bad. And I think generative AI is going to have a huge piece in the future, whether it be for companies that we've looked at. I had a conversation with a company called Adapti that's doing generative AI for athletes. Where athletes that do endorsements, they're able to do a whole bunch of pictures, and the AI will help do a lot of their marketing advertisement for them.
Wow.
What reduces the time on the athlete, but also increases the ability to have more, we'll call it, more content for advertising. Great use of generative AI. That's one segment. Now you've got predictive AI, where it's able to take data in, run it through certain sets and requirements, and come up with predictive outcomes.
Okay.
And then, not from there, a lot of people are concerned that you've got the Chat GPT that starts to think on its own, that collects data, that's a big aggregator of data, and then spits an outcome and starts starting to think for itself, the autonomous portion of artificial intelligence. Now it can actually think for itself and compute. And a lot of people are afraid.
Yeah.
Now, this is a segment you and I've talked about before. That's when we think in AI, what's going to be very important is responsible artificial intelligence. That's a very key important piece for people to look at when they're looking at these different types of AI.
When we talk about responsible, that's a different definition for different people, though, isn't it?
It is.
What's responsible to one person may be irresponsible for somebody else.
Absolutely. Some may say we want AI to be able to press the trigger and do nuclear war and take over the world like the old Terminator days.
Yeah.
There always is that case of that happening, and a lot of the professionals or call it the godfathers of artificial intelligence, there is that risk of how much can it take over and infiltrate.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to quantum computing, which quantum computing, as it continues to expand, it'll have the ability to hack any type of system. So you're going to see a big computing development towards quantum computing. Systems are going to have to develop that way to combat the hacking. So you have a lot of bad actors.
Right.
But at the same time, you got to stick within responsibility. Now, for individuals, when you're looking at artificial intelligence, there's no certification for artificial intelligence yet. There's no one group saying, I'm going to look at and certify that this really is artificial intelligence, or is it just machine learning? Or is it just a server database giving an output? To be a true artificial intelligence, you have to have what I call immortalized data. What that means is when data is taken in, it's computed, it gives an output, but then the machine learning portion can now say, okay, with this data, how does it continue to make more data and collect more data to come up with a reasonable outcome or reasonality behind that outcome? And now it changes again. And eventually we hope there will be some certification systems around, specifically for myself who makes investments and others. What really is this really AI or is it just an Excel spreadsheet? That's a big issue with AI right now.
Lots of news reports I've read, like articles, and about copyright violations, because what AI has, like the Chat GPT kind of stuff, all it does is go comb the internet and put, like if you have it write a paper for you, it's taking paragraphs from somebody else's paper already and combining them in your paper, therefore it looks like it's original, but is it really original or just fancy photocopy?
That's a huge issue. My son's in high school, and his high school, which I'm grateful for, they're actually now pushing their kids to go back to written paper turn-ins for homework versus, we'll call it digital, because too many kids, and I've caught my son doing this,
pressing the button.
Chat GPT, what's the answer? Submit. Or if they have to write it out, they actually have to apply thought to it. Now, that doesn't stop them from copying, but I appreciate that effort towards making them start to think for themselves. And it's a big issue.
When we talk about the money world, a lot of the AI kind of stock prices, when any company that says they're using AI, the stock skyrockets. Reminds me of the dot-com world back in 1998 to 2000. If you had .com after your name, your stock tripled.
I remember that. In fact, I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Back in 1998, people were getting valuations on $3,000 to $4,000 per account or per email they collected.
Wow.
Not that they had lifetime value, not that they actually could convert them into consumer, but that's the valuations a lot of the dot-com companies were getting back then. And what happened with that? It's called the dot-bomb.
Yep.
I do see the similar thing in AI. I believe there's systems in place that aren't as drastic as the dot-com days, but there still is that hype of AI with what truly is it behind it. And that's something everyone's got to look out for. It's what truly is the systems and what third-party validations can come in and show this is a certified AI, not just an Excel spreadsheet with a whole bunch of emails like the dot-com days.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of weeding out going forward, I think.
There will. And as free markets are allowed to do so, that'll be helpful. We just, for ourselves as investors, as we caution, do that extra look and, be very weary, but also be excited, but look for that data validation, not just the name.
We're filming this end of October 2023. If we could get in a time machine and go to end of October 2043, what do you see the AI world looking like 20 years from now?
In 20 years from now, you're going to see a blend of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is just a key piece. Just like the internet was just a key piece for communication, I think artificial intelligence will be embedded in almost everyday life of everything we do. So it will morph into industrial AI, whether it be robotics, whether it be your coffee maker to your car. It's going to speed up the information. I see from an informational standpoint, but also the speed of AI growth is going to be directly correlated to quantum computing, the ability to process data in a faster method. So I think as quantum computing speeds up, the value of AI will also speed up. And I see that in 40 years from now. Look, we may have a 20% unemployment rate in the world at that time. The use, you're still going to have skilled labor and pieces like that, but you get into robotics, you get into the use, and there's a term in economics called functional obsolescence. It means when a function is now obsolete due to technology. Now, what a lot of people state is no, that just those that are out of work will retrain and there'll be a new set of technology, so people will transfer to that new set of work, which is definitely a possibility.
Right.
I'm sorry, I've got one teenage son and I've got 6 kids between 17 and 26. My kids are hard workers, but in a general aspect, I see a very lazy workforce coming up, which I believe will result in 20% unemployment.
Well, plus it's not that easy to retrain when you're 50 years old, is it?
No, it's not.
So that's happening a lot. So yeah, that's another concept there is the unemployment rates with AI getting more advanced and being able to do a lot more things. People who are doing them now are not going to be needed.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
they're
kind
not.
of scary.
It is scary, but but for those that, and I've taught my kids this, be adaptive. If you're adaptive and you work hard, you will survive and you will thrive.
There's no substitute for hard work.
Never is.
Yeah. All right, number 2 on our list of 3 for today is reverse splits. Are reverse splits good, and who really benefits from if a company does a reverse split?
Now, we're gonna do a little backtracking here. We're gonna go to, ladies and gentlemen, today this is our Italian segment.
That's right.
We got the chains. Coach Pete's got a chain. I got the chain. We're going to do a little bit of, we'll call it a little paisano action here. So, welcome. Benvenuti con our conversation regarding reverse splits. Because we feel like we got it taken pretty hard with these reverse splits.
Yeah.
Now, in a reverse split, what happens is you have a price on the shares and a whole bunch of shares. You reduce the amount of the shares, and correspondingly, the price of the shares should go up because it should come to an equal sum when it comes to the market valuation. But normally what happens is you got a lot of short sellers that come in and push the holy bejesus out of that price all the way down as well because it's a time for liquidation event. The normal case of reverse splits hurt everybody involved, especially if they're doing a reverse split at the time of an uplist to, let's say, a NASDAQ or something like that, which we know too well. Bada bing, bada boom. Talking about it. Forget about it. Forget about it.
So here's what they'll tell you. You take a pizza. It has 10 slices. Reverse split it, 5-1. So now you got the same pizza, but it's got 2 pieces. That's a reverse split.
That is a reverse split.
But unfortunately, someone comes in and eat half the pizza right behind your back, and all of a sudden you got what happens here is when they reverse split. Many times I've seen the price that it's supposed to be. You never really see that. And it goes down, down, down.
It goes straight down.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're right back to where you started, the same price you were before the reverse split, but you have a lot less shares, and now they do another. Then they start issuing more shares, and they reverse split again. We see this a lot of times in the penny stock world and the OTC market.
Yeah, and you'll also see
NASDAQ.
it in the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange. Yeah. They've got limitations. If you go below a certain price, if you stay below that price for 90 days, you get a notice. Notice says you have to get your price back up over a certain price. And you got 90 days or whatever it is to do it. If you don't do it, you either get delisted, bada bing, bada boom, or you got to do a reverse split or get that stock price up there. It's a lot of work. So reverse splits usually from overselling or a company not performing, or you got a naked short seller and they're giving you a hard time.
That's what happens when someone sees a reverse split. They come in and they short it.
Well, actually, the algorithms in a lot of the high institutional investors, they've got the games they play. They know when a reverse comes in, reverse split, they got some liquidation pressure. They're going to push it to them and push that down. Look at our friends at Citadel. They got sued by the SEC for $7 million, which isn't enough, by the way, but at least they got them for some of the short splits and other naked shorting.
That's right. Well, everybody get that to them, right?
Well, and a little bit more they need, be honest with you.
Well, good. Now they're on the radar. All right. So if your company's reverse splitting, some guy called me the other day. He said, a company that I'm invested in is getting ready to reverse split. Should I buy more now? I said, no.
You got to wait.
No buying. Wait a couple months afterwards to see if it's recovered. It'd probably be a lot cheaper.
If a company's performing, if a company's increasing assets, increasing revenues, they got profitability, their EBITDA's growing, the company will survive. It'll make it through. The problem is when the companies don't got revenue, don't got earnings.
They're just trying to make themselves look better.
They're trying to raise capital.
Make the share price higher.
The share price. The unfortunate part, the algorithmic structure which we have in the United States, which is perpetuated by all the large funds, they got those high-frequency trading that comes in and make sure they get some of that and push that down because they're not forced to cover the dark pool. I mean, look at GameStop. They estimated GameStop was 3 times oversold. Come on, forget about it.
Who swims with the fishes is the average investor.
Nah, poor guy.
Swim with the fishes.
Swim with the fishes.
All right, now, speaking of the average investor, again, we're taping this late October 2023. Interest rates have been going up, which hurts you if you're borrowing, but helps you if you're saving. Your opinion on long-term rates or investing in a long-term bond structure or anything that promises a return, the same return over the years, what would you say about that?
Well, we're going to get out of the Italian back to the
we're
normal.
going out of the
Thank you,
Italian. Yeah, we swam with the fishes.
Swam with the fishes. Now, when it comes to, what did people expect? COVID comes in, markets are crashed. We proved that free market economy is not free market economy. Adam Smith's vision of the market was it's been changed. Governments proved that we were in the belief of a free market, but we weren't. And they issued trillions of dollars of their own monies, flooding the market. Do people really think the same amount of goods with twice as much money is not going to increase the price?
Supply and demand.
So I expected inflation. In fact, the Fed did what they can to keep it down. Now they're trying to raise the cost of capital to keep those rates down, but there still is an equilibrium to the actual price comparative goods where it should be based on money supply. It's not over. It's going to increase. And as interest rates increase, that means the cost of capital is increased. Now, if you are saving, you do have money into savings accounts and money market accounts. So some of the savings accounts are offering 3 or 4%. The overall, if you're into certain funds, it's 10, 11, 12%, depending on the fund's aggressive nature and how the fund structure is.
Right.
It can be good now to lock in long-term rates.
Right.
Because once there is an equilibrium, the Fed will, which they've proven,
Start coming
to
back
increase
down.
which they've proven that economic prosperity comes to lower cost of capital. And markets hope that some people are projecting next year, some are projecting in 2 years. So it is a decent time now, if there's cash on the side, under what I do personally, what I recommend, to get in some of those long-term yield situations. Now, could we have inflation running out of control like happened in Argentina? When I lived in Brazil, it was 1,000% a year. There are those chances. Now, if the U.S. has that, we got a whole other issue going on, which it could be very interesting, whether war or whatever it might be, which there are global macroeconomic issues that do affect all of that.
Correct.
But in general, it's a decent time to lock in long-term rates for individuals that want a nice return on their capital.
A lot better than, say, 4 years ago, where if some banks were doing this, they were locking into long-term federal bonds at under 1%.
That's correct.
And that's why we had the banking trouble about a year ago now, or less than a year, when some of the banks were going insolvent.
Lots of insolvency in those banks.
As interest rates go up, bond prices go down. So if you invested in bonds 4 years ago, you're way underwater. So, I mean...
And it wasn't just the interest rate of the bond. The bond has a face value.
Correct.
That is correlated to that interest rate. So a lot of these funds that had locked in these contracts at very low interest rates, when interest rates took off, the actual face value of that bond dropped. Therefore, they had capital calls. Now, imagine if you were to lock in now a nice interest rate bond and the interest rates drop, what happens to the face value of that bond?
Goes up.
Technically, it should increase. Which, when interest rates go down lower, say they're half what they are right now, a nice yielding bond will have a great face value.
Yeah.
Which is why you see a lot of institutions are taking those positions and are restructuring their capital stack, because they hope interest rates go down, so their bond portfolio face value increases.
If we see interest rates above 10%, which we could see.
Oh yeah.
We're taping this October 2023. Maybe someone's watching it now. It's 12% now in 2024. But that's going to put a lot of pressure, in my opinion, on the stock market. Why would you take all the risk, put your money at risk in the stock market to hopefully get a return, but you could lose money, where you could take the money out of the market and put it in a long-term bond and get 10, 12% or whatever it is at the time with no risk. No risk from the market, at least, right?
Well, and they proved that by bringing down interest rates where people could not make a lot of money. They had to look for ways to grow their capital, because we've been trained as Americans or as individuals, invest your money, go into compound interest. Let's really set your retirement up for the future by putting money away from a young age. You get that compound interest, and except for when that interest drops to the ground, you're not making any money. You need to move that around to try to make. And we've seen this, that groups like to make 10% a year. That makes them feel good. Now, some of the large institutions, they want 20% a year. They want a 200% return in 5 years. So, and individuals, they want to grow on that capital. With inflation growing so much, interest rates go up, people are seeing it's going to be an interesting model of how things end up, especially for those long-time values of individuals when it comes to their own retirement savings and their own cash flow. We
do the rule of 72. You take the interest rates you're being offered or making, divide it into 72, tells you the number of years it takes for that money to double. So if you get a 10% rate, in 7.2 years, your money doubles.
That's
a lot better than when we had 1% rates. One goes into 72. How many times?
72!
72 years of money to double. By the way, folks, if you like the ties me and Matt are wearing, we're going to give away a signed Naked Truth tie. All you have to do to enter that, if you're watching right now, is go to your phone and go to like 600-700, text the word naked to 600-700. It'll come up on the screen too, you'll see that. So, Matt, we can give a tie away, we'll sign it, and we want to know you're listening. If you have any comments, you can also text the comments to 600-700, naked, 600-700.
And if you want to be a guest on our show, Come be a guest.
Come be a guest. We've got an extra tie for you, and we've got an extra seat. So,
You know the requirement.
or if you'd like to hear a certain topic, maybe that you're frustrated or confused about in the financial world, text us to naked 600-700, and we will ask you what that topic is. How's that, Matt?
I love it. Exciting to expose that naked truth.
Naked truth. Come, by the way, if you do come in and be on the show, after the show, we enjoy a bottle of wine. So that's just an added benefit there.
Absolutely.
Or Pepsi or Coke if you don't want wine
That's
or water.
correct.
You know. Matt, any other topics today, or any final comments today?
Well, final comments, as always, do your homework, work hard, adapt, be ready for the future. But one thing which is important, when people lose hope, hope in a system, hope in a society, hope in their selves, it generally results in a downward cycle, depression, whatever you want to call it. We here at The Naked Truth, we're so excited because we have the ability to adapt, because we believe in hard work, and there's always opportunity for those that are aware, that choose to hard work and choose to care. So we're so grateful to be with everyone. Coach Pete, thanks so much for setting this up. And The Naked Truth, nakedfinancialtruth.com.
Yep, nakedfinancialtruth.com or naked to 600-700. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Woo! That naked truth. Get those muscles in there. Yeah.
We'll go to the gym one of these days.
Some of these days. Next time, our special guest. Look forward to that. Woohoo!